All right, thank you very much for coming to my very first presentation here at the New Color Academy. This is my final project presentation, and the problem was finding a way to accurately show a student's understanding of the course. So due to the recent events of COVID-19, most courses were taught through online, and many teachers were lacking sufficient ways of measuring students' ability to apply the skills that they have learned. Therefore, we created a car using Arduino and using the knowledge from the courses. That was our tutorial program. Now, the project description is the following. Create a car to follow a line accurately and avoid and bypass any obstacles on the line, as well as showing understanding of the electronic components and the software aspects of using the Arduino itself. The research was, mainly just looking around, finding other projects that are using the Arduino. So there were multiple projects. One guy was making a lightsaber and etc. As well as different types of motor drivers. For me, for example, the L298 previously had a problem with it. So I was actually thinking about looking into getting a different Arduino motor shield and comparing the pros that you get from that compared to getting an actual new L298. As well as the refinement and the appropriate components such as the LR sensors and precautions when handling electrical components such as the voltage inputs, the ground, etc., so that I don't blow the Arduino. So these are the sample codes. The one on the left was for the obstacle evasion, and the one on the right was simply for the line turning. Both of them, the obstacle one was working fine. The line turning was half working because it was turned on the left. But while the right RR sensor was picking up the line, the code wasn't executing, and frankly, I wasn't able to find out what the exact problem was with it. These are the project design. This is side view, the front view, and the top view of my Arduino car. And this is the circuit diagram. It's a bit small, but I tried to make do with it. I could not find the sensor shield component for the circuit IO that I was using for the diagram, so I had to make do with a breadboard that I showed all the connections going into. So the prices for these were, obviously there is the standard Arduino kit, and I also had to buy a 9-volt rechargeable battery as well as 6 AA batteries. The 9-volt was simply for the motor driver, and the 6 AA batteries for the Arduino itself. The project, while I was doing the project testing, problems that I encountered were wires displaced from their original positions or simply just not plugged in where they should be plugged in, bugs stemming from use of unfamiliar codes, and as well as faulty mechanical components such as the L298 motor that I mentioned earlier, as well as one IR sensor that I had to swap out with my fellow students since it was being faulty. Modifications based on the initial developments was changes in code based on the online creations and fellow peers' advices. Because of the lockdown, I had to do most of my studyings online by myself. And one of the huge additions and aids that I was able to gain was through online creators, such as YouTube channels, as well as the Arduino Reddit page. Many of them had different codes. Some of them went on to use ENA, ENV. Some of them did use them, some of them didn't. I tried to play around with them to find a way that suited me most. So time management, the influences on my time management was, a lot of things had really been happening in the past few months for me. Obviously, there was the COVID-19 and the lockdown that had been happening. However, unfortunately, some of my family friends are no longer with us, as well as my 4 online courses that I have been taking at the online college in addition with the Arduino class, as well as psychological counseling from previous personal events. Self-assessment, quite frankly, I would give myself a 5 out of 10. This was just purely based on the amount of work and time that I had placed into the course with the limited amount of time that you are given as a person in the 24 hours. Learning skills, I really did enjoy the Arduino class. It was an amazing experience for me. I feel like the Arduino itself has a lot of flexibility. I can't speak. Flexibility to kind of change it into suit whatever the problem is that arises as you go on in the future. I did learn that I was influenced very much by the atmosphere of the area of the work that I am in. Quite frankly, I wasn't really able to do much work at home by myself compared to when I came here, talking to my friends, talking to my teachers. I was able to actually cover much, much more ground than I was previously. I had to learn to monitor myself to stop falling into lethargic behaviors through constant workout, just going out for a breath of fresh air, going for a few walks, and just breathing in, calming yourself down, getting that anxiety away. Oh, as well, as I said, learning how to use the Arduino and its flexibility for the future projects that may come. Cons was, quite frankly, I wish I was able to use my time much more efficiently. Looking back, I believe that it wasn't really a problem of procrastination. It was more of efficiency. Perhaps I could have spent more time focusing on the Arduino itself instead of looking at other Arduino projects that are not related to the Arduino card itself. And in conclusion, technical difficulties, obviously there was due to the lockdown and difficult delivery situations, as well as going out shopping for, I guess, necessary goods. There was difficulty with gaining the required mechanical components, as well as actually working with the mechanical components itself. Just simply because this was my first time working with something like this, and there were so many brand new aspects and bugs that I wasn't able to preconceive. And obviously with the right R sensor, there was difficulty getting the codes to simply correspond with what the mechanical components are showing me. Technical successes were, the car was actually managed to get wired up properly, and it was able to avoid obstacles, and unfortunately it was only able to take the left turns, but the left turns did work very smoothly. Bibliography, viralsciencecreativity.com was actually a website that I found on the Reddit page. It was amazing. They did have the source code, but the videos themselves went into very in-depth explaining why they could use these certain codes in comparison with other ones. There's obviously a DIY builder on YouTube that I use in gaining knowledge and how to actually wire everything up properly. The Arduino CC was where I mainly went to get the sensor library that I thought was needed, because my car was supposed to use the sensor motor. We would turn left, right, and then forward, measure the ping, and then choose decisions based on that information. Circuit.io was the website I used for the circuit diagrams. Bitbucket was another one of those Reddit pages that offered me a lot of help. And Arduino libraries.info is as well. Yeah, thank you.